unDUBBED, where we're...
Who knows?
Oh, come on. We've got the merch. It's written on the merch.
We're unscripted, uncensored, and undeniably data.
That's it. Hey, so welcome back. And could you believe it or not, it's finally the end of 2024. So we thought we'd take some time to reflect on the year that's been and look forward to the year that's coming. You're excited, Faye?
I am excited. In fact, I'm the most excited because if we just do a little bit of magic of camera, I'm excited because we're both in the same place.
Very exciting. Yes, we are sitting opposite each other and we are doing our podcast here live in Sydney.
We're looking forward to doing a bit of a reflection of the past year, but also hopefully some looking forward into the next year as well.
I always find December is that really busy time of the year, right? Everyone's just cranking up, trying to get everything finished. You know, for those that celebrate Christmas, it's a really big time, especially families. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's also our summer holidays, so it's a bit of a double whammy, I think, with expectations and things happening. And also for most businesses, it's that time of the year where we do kind of reflect on what's happened, what's been. And I know in our previous lives, a lot of time for performance reviews would be happening around now.
100%. So everyone's in that mad scramble to finish their things up, wind up for the year. There's usually some deadline that's coming up. And at the same time, you've got the family craziness of getting ready you've got little kids, getting ready for Santa. If you've got, older kids, they're probably thinking about holidays. So yeah, it's one of the times that I think that it's really easy to lose your mind.
Oh, yes. And I always remember my mind just went back to the good old favorite thing in technology, the change freeze period.
Change freeze period. Oh my goodness, you're right. Lots of fun. All handcuffs on, can't do anything, and so there is that real mad rush coming through. Sarah, tell me, what did you used to do when you were working in corporate at this time of year?
I used to try and make sure we were prepared as possible for that looming change freeze, people going on leave, trying to get all the paperwork done for performance reviews, etc. And also just trying to really check in with my team. Although I would do that constantly throughout the year, I just think extra time and kind of guidance and consideration was given around this time of the year because people would be in a bit of a frenzy and work wasn't necessarily top of mind as well. I think a lot of people get really tired at the end of the year. I've actually noticed it a lot more, obviously being in Asia for the last decade. In the Northern Hemisphere, people get that kind of mid-year break and it's a bit of a reset and then the end of year, a bit of a break as well. But what I'm finding back here in the Southern Hemisphere is there's not that mid-year reset. So everyone right now is just burnt out. I notice it, at the schools, all our kids feel burnt out. All the adults are burnt out. Everyone's just trying to get to the end of the year and to have a little bit of a reset. So I think going back to my team, it was really just trying to help them as much as possible, set expectations on things that needed to be done, things that maybe could wait, and trying to be really mature around the things that, hey, stuff that's more important and let's focus on that instead. Of performance reviews, making sure that throughout the year there was no surprises. It was always this is what you need support on and helping along that. And what about you, Faye?
Yeah, usually at this time of year, I've got some crazy deadline that is more likely to be self-imposed than anything. Also, really ramping up to try and get something done. At the same time, thinking about culture for the teams, really thinking about what we can do to celebrate with each other, not just my immediate team, but more broadly across the teams as well. And then at the same time thinking of, Christmas lunches or celebrations and bringing people together, sometimes even bringing people from, who previously had worked for us as well. And
I really like that. Like, I like kind of going back and, pulling other people together that, you used to see every day and now you don't. I think that's really lovely.
I miss people when I've worked with them so much for so long, and then suddenly, they might have got a new opportunity that's really great for them. They're going off, they're building their career. I still miss them, and Christmas is a time for bringing people together for me. And so it's really lovely. I'm wondering now how I can incorporate that now that there's just the two of us.
I know, it's funny, right? Like, there are the two of us. I don't think we've even planned our Christmas party.
Let's see what we can do on Friday.
Yeah, let's see.
What else would you do at end of year with your teams?
The whole performance review, love it, hate it. In corporate world, it's there. And it is a real big time to go in and self-evaluate. I wasn't always a big fan of the rigid structure of performance reviews, but I did really like the piece that it would tell you, like, it was a time for you to go back and reflect on your year and how you impacted the organization and so forth. I liked the way that you could go out to your peers or your team, and a manager would always effectively be giving you your review. So it was a really big time to go and look at how you made an impact or things that you could improve on. And I do really enjoy that aspect of getting that feedback.
Oh, I hear you there. So, well, I really don't like the whole performance review and corporate culture. I believe even bonus culture isn't a great culture to be working around. In fact, when I worked in financial services, the bonuses were so extraordinary. I felt that it really undermined the collaboration, especially the more senior that individuals got, the more that they would be vying for their own pieces of work to be successful, which meant that they weren't really open to spending time on other people's. So one thing that I'm grateful for around our organisation is that we don't have performance reviews, but I think at the same time we need to make sure that we're giving one another feedback, and that's one thing that we're really doing well at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not always easy because it's just two of us. So it can always kind of feel a bit in your face when we give each other feedback because there's no one else to support or deny the feedback. But I do appreciate, I think we've spoken it before on our first podcast. There has been times where we've had to give quite strong feedback to each other. And I think we're evolving to that. So we can almost have a performance review all the time, and trying to do what's better for us as a company, which I think underlyingly shows through in the feedback that we do give each other.
Do you have anything planned for our podcast today, Sarah?
Wow. Yes, I do have a few things planned. I would like to take some time to reflect on the year that was, so 2024. We did, start our own company only halfway through the year. And I want to talk about a practice that I use quite often, both professionally and personally, and have used on the corporate world, is around rose, thorn, bud. Think about roses, things that are positive that have happened, and we can focus on our organization throughout the second half of this year. So anything that's positive, and we would take a couple of minutes to write some of those ideas down. And then we would talk about thorn. So that's effectively anything that's negative. And in the human-centered design, we normally have roses are pink, thorns are blue, and then we have bud. And bud is the potential. Love how we kind of end with something exciting and new and things that we can manage for ourselves. So what I thought is if we would just take a couple of minutes, and we kind of would like people on the podcast as well to take a couple of minutes and just when they're thinking back on 2024, if you could think of one thing that is a rose, so something that's really positive, one thing that you find is a little bit spiky, a little bit negative, so a thorn that's happened to you kind of, in 2024, and then something that's a bud, some potential. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Do we have to just stick to one?
No, of course not.
Because even while we were talking, I was thinking, oh my God, I want to turn left or, and go down these different ways.
Well, normally when we run Rosebud Thorn, it's an opportunity for everyone to get up and stand and grab their post-it notes and to write down as many ideas. And we typically would time box it to say 5 or 10 minutes. For this one, I'm just thinking how we're going to run this. It's live on the podcast.
Time box.
I
reckon another 5 minutes and maybe go 1 for 1 until we're done. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right. First rose for me this year is to be able to start DUBBED with you. It's been such an incredible journey to have such a talented and intelligent and thoughtful and kind person to be building this organization with, and so getting something out the door, amazing, just from the seed of an idea to here we are at the end of the year and, coming into next year, so many exciting things ahead.
And I think of my rose as well. It's definitely around like getting this off the ground and being on this journey with you as well. Sometimes I feel that I'm none of those things because you are like 10 layers up from me. Yeah, 10x, and I think, and being really proud of what we have launched. Sometimes I think we're like super critical of ourselves and we're like, but we haven't done this. And it's like, but hey, look what we actually have done in 6 months. We have platforms up and running.
The next rose for me is, it's been really odd walking away from corporate life, but it's actually opened up a number of doors and conversations with connections that I've built throughout corporate life, where people are really leaning in and wanting to help. And so an organization that I had a lot of experience with from a corporate perspective, who'd done extremely great work for me at a number of different organizations, has stepped up to the plate when we've opened the door and explained what we're doing with DUBBED. And when we had an opportunity to do some work for an organization, there's only the two of us, and this organization may have work that is much bigger than DUBBED, and it fits with our ethos as well. So this client organization might have a lot of work for us. How do we ramp up and scale up? Well, I want to work with companies like MIP, who have in the past delivered outstanding work. And we came together for this week to deliver for the client who was tied up. They had no insights. They had some data. And seeing how we self-organized, navigated some tricky requirements that weren't so clear and actually knocked it out of the park was just amazing. So to think that another organization will come in and do this and believe in our ethos has just been an amazing, exciting journey for me.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think, when I think of another rose, it's just around pulling community networking and having so many great conversations with organizations like MIP and others that understand the value and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to change things. And I love that feedback of, yeah, this really makes sense.
Jason, earlier this year, we had family members pass away. And when that happened, one of them was running a business. And I just so happened to mention it to Chris McClellan from Visualize Data, and that I was trying to wind up the business. He asked what kind of business it was. It happened to be a computer business that did some hosting for websites and domain registration. And turns out that Chris also runs a business along with his data business for that. He helped us to pick up all of the clients, reach out to them, contact them, and we've transitioned them across at the same rate and with the same really great client experience. Now Chris does our domain registration and hosting as well, and he was the first dubber to sign up. So the realization is that sometimes being a little bit vulnerable, people will step forward and help you out. I really feel like the relationship that we've built with Chris even for DUBBED is something that's really going to help pull us forward as well. So Chris, if you're listening, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Chris has been such a great help for both yourself and the family situation, and then ongoing for us and the domain, and always at the end of a call if we need him. I love that bit where you've mentioned around being vulnerable. As I'm going to move us into the thorns now and focus a little bit on the negative. Vulnerability is really around the great unknown. You and I have been very much used to being in corporate life and having corporate money coming in on a regular basis. And now we've gone into this great unknown. You know, I actually for a bit of a walk this morning, and as we were talking, we were reflecting on sometimes, you know, we're really pumped about that we don't know what's happening next. And other times it's like, oh my gosh, it can be a bit heart-wrenching as well. When I reflect, it's having faith in what we are doing and moving forward, but also knowing it's a bit of a rocky roller coaster as well. Having those great unknowns is really scary, but I'm super happy that I've got Fiona right beside me, because we do have really open communication style. And when we're feeling those highs and lows, it's great to have, you know, you next to me feeling them too. Or quite often, sometimes we're feeling the opposite, which is great as well. So we can almost balance each other out a bit, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you on that. The highs and lows of, we're totally going to be able to do this, into there's no money coming in, you know? So, and trying to get to that point and that realization while we're juggling, you know, so many different plates, is certainly challenging at times. But like you, I feel like, thank goodness I've got Sarah. I don't know that I could do this without you. What else is thought out? Coming back to the open conversation and having those challenging conversations, it's hard. You know, we're friends first. One of the things about starting the business was, how do we navigate this business and make sure that this is not something that destroys our friendship, because it means a lot, which means having those tough conversations before they fester. I've always been somebody that's leaned into harder conversations.
A lot more than me.
A lot more than you. But that doesn't mean that I enjoy having them as well. And in fact, it can make I ruminate a lot about tough conversations. So I might lean into them faster, but then afterwards I'm circling around going, oh, was that the right thing?
Which is funny, actually, because it's something we've not spoken about. So I will avoid a tough conversation at all costs. And I would like to think that throughout our business relationship, I have improved. I have tried to lean in earlier, but it's quite funny because hearing that you ruminate afterwards, because I ruminate before. And once the conversation's done, I'm like, okay, that's done. Move on. Next thing. Yep, we've agreed. We've aligned. So it's quite funny to see that we are completely on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I have noticed about these tough conversations, and you alluded to it before, is there's no hiding. We have to have them, because you're the only other person. I can't go and talk to Bob or Dave or Susie or whoever else, because it's just Sarah. And that, I feel, is helping to improve my communication style. Really trying to have the conversations in ways where it's not destructive, or understanding that you're somebody that likes to ruminate beforehand. How much space can I give her before I can bring this up? So there's a lot of thinking and growth happening in that same space. That's not to say that I have nailed it at all, but getting there.
We're growing together.
Journey.
Yeah, I love that. I think we are. We've come from super powerful jobs, and we're used to running big teams, and then it's kind of like it's the two of us, right? And you're right. We have to have conversations straight away. We have to figure out what we're going to do as a result, and it's a real partnership, which is exciting and nerve-wracking all at the same time. Yeah.
Do you have any other thorny issues?
Oh, I think that was like it covered a lot for me. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
I have one more. One more, and I reckon you share this one too.
Okay.
Sales. I shouldn't have done that while you were drinking because that could have been dangerous. So Sarah and I are not salespeople. We have to do internal sales, obviously, but lesser so in terms of, going out, pounding the pavements as virtually as you would say. So having to think about what that means for us, I don't think that we've nailed this. I want to think that we are going to get some help from our friends and other dubbers along the way to help us with that. I know that we have really great connections and a well-established network, but it's definitely something that we need to get better at.
Yeah, I agree. And it is like that scary path as well, right? Like, it's really important that we get good at sales. We've spoken to some really great people and they are there to support us, which is exciting, and watch the space, how we're going to evolve that into 2025. Both of us naturally shy away from being aggressive salespeople.
And I don't mean that you need to be aggressive as such, but a little more polished and a little more structured in the way that we approach it.
I agree.
Watch this space.
Okay, we're going to move on to the bud now. So that's where you see the potential.
No, that conversation's over. There's no potential. I'm kidding. Okay, I see potential in our community. So if you haven't signed up yet, please go to unDUBBED.com and sign up to our community. It's right at the beginning. So we have about 70 people who have signed up for our community so far, which is really exciting. But as with anything, it's like going to the school dance and no one wants to dance first or dance. Since I'm in Australia, dance first. So we're really looking for people who want to start driving the conversation, getting involved. We have a space where you can run your own live meetups. We don't care, just as long as you don't sell to people while you're doing it. That's all we ask. So you can just go on, hang out, have a meeting there, do whatever you want, connect with people from around the world. And it's really lovely to see our community start to grow and have a few people who are brave enough to start talking or posting.
Yeah, and loving seeing some of the conversations that are happening. Our last podcast was on redundancy. Some really great conversations there through the meetups, and loved that community building and bringing people from around the world together that could have really open and honest conversations about how they were feeling marked on the fact that their roles had been made redundant, and changing the narrative. And having some really great thought leaders on those calls as well, which I thought was really, really exciting. Yeah. For me, my bud is around changing lives. When we thought about why DUBBED data, we really thought around how we could have these super talented people come together on this community and marketplace and look at how they could start selling things there and having opportunities of connection to be able to monetize the stuff that they've potentially been giving away for free over the years. And I love the fact we could, help people find their next job if that's what they're looking for, or have a little side hustle, make connections, work with other people in the community. We want to pull people together when there's a big project and have that happening. That for me is really exciting.
It is super exciting. I think I'm keen to see how far we can push our platform. So one of the things that might not be outwardly apparent to people is that we can post online training. So you could create a passive income through online training. Think of it like Udemy, but a different platform. So you could sell your course through DUBBED. We'll post it for you. Really great opportunity there. But also I'm keen to do some of that as well.
Okay, so I think we're at the end of our Rose Thorn Bud. I hope those on the call spent some little time reflecting on their 2024 as well. Time box yourself in 5 minutes and go old school and get a pen out and maybe some coloured post-it notes and kind of the things that can come into your mind and take some time to reflect on that. So yeah, Rose Thorn Bud I find really great to just get ideas down and out of your head and onto a page. And so with that, now I would like to kind of switch it up a little bit and focus on 2025.
Oh, that's not the buds. I thought that's where the buds were coming in. 2025. Okay, well, why don't you start first so that I can have some time to think about what I think is going to happen in 2025?
I want to talk about some areas that I really want to focus on for next year. This is sounding a little bit like a performance review now, isn't it? We spoke around how we've got the community. It's at 70 people at the moment. And I think that's amazing. You know, we launched less than a month ago, so that's great. I'd like us to really keep that momentum up. We want to put numbers up against those, right? Like, could we 10x it by the end of 2025? I would love that to be at least an opportunity, right?
Are you serious? 10x is nothing.
I know. Well, come on, we've got to start somewhere.
Challenge accepted.
Okay. 10x, 700.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay. On the board.
What does that mean from a social media perspective?
Good question. So we do need to really keep going on our social media. We are across 8 platforms at the moment, and we try to post at least 5 times a week. We are learning a lot around the analytics. You know, we've spoken a little bit before about we don't have a big team behind us. It is us at this stage. So learning a lot more around social, helping, maybe encouraging others to help us as well in terms of posting, liking, sharing.
Getting the word out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything stand out as a surprise to you about the social side so far?
I think around the platforms that have been more popular than others.
Like TikTok, here we come. It seems like every video we're posting is getting around 700 views coming through. So that's pretty high, I thought. But maybe they just have different ways of measuring it.
Learning the algorithms across these platforms is something that we are going to have to focus on. Yeah.
And if anyone's got any feedback for us, there's a place on the unDUBBED details page on our website where you can give us feedback on things that you think would work better. Coming into next year, we will be having some guests on the podcast rather than it just being Sarah and I talking. We will be having dubbers, who are people who sell on the DUBBED platform, come and talk, but they won't be talking about what they're selling. They'll be talking about skills and things that might be of value to you.
I love that, you know, our focus on our socials and our podcast has been value add and a little bit of what we're trying to do in the background as well. Yeah. So Fee, when you think about some goals, and we've spoken around growing the community, what are some of the goals that you want to achieve for 2025?
Some sales goals. I think we need to put some sales goals in there. Creating some structure behind it, hopefully also getting some help. One of the things that I'm keen to do is offload some of the lower level tasks that we spend a fair bit of time on at the moment and paying someone else to look after those so we can really focus on connecting with our network, understanding how things are going in the DUBBED space and getting out there and trying to make the marketplace work.
I love that. We've both been focusing recently on the early days. It was all like, we've got to get all this done. We've got to, you know, do all these things. And now it's okay. So we've got this to a level where it could be semi-automated and let's think of maybe it's a VA or someone that can come in and help us run certain elements while we really focus on the big word that keeps rearing its head around sales.
Is that enough?
Maybe it's enough for this podcast.
Okay. I would just like to take the time to say to anyone who's listening, I wish you happy holidays, a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate it, or Hanukkah. I hope that you have time to spend with your loved ones, and do reach out if there's anything that we can be doing to make this better along the way. So thank you so much for your support so far. It really means the world to us.
It really does. And yeah, looking forward to crash landing into 2025.
We're definitely not having a crash landing. We are going to roar.
Roar.
We're going to roar into 2025. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.